Start with the Examiner this morning, and our front page is Flying Dutchman. We haven't even talked about this just yet. Ajax star Van der Beek leaves Spurs facing daunting task in Amsterdam. There's also a picture of Ayrton Senna, 25 years since Ayrton Senna and Ronald Ratzenberg were killed at Imola. And then there's talk about Messi. Reds must suffer to deal with Barca star Donald Lennon. Allow the club rugby game to wither at your peril. The other stories in that one.
The Irish Daily Star this morning leads with Mayday, Spurs in distress after first leg defeat. You've also got State should have say in FAI. That's Sport Ireland chief John Tracy claiming the State will have a big say in the choice of the new FAI chief exec. And you've got Jurgen Klopp saying let's get a little bit crazy. He's told Liverpool to be ready to suffer against Barcelona tonight as they bid to wreck Lionel Messi's dream of a 5th Champions League crown.
And so, there you go. Advantage Ajax as Pochettino pauses plan for a rendezvous with Star Command. This was the Buzz Lightyear comment yesterday. Deflating night for Spurs as Ajax give lessons in speed and flair. Van der Beek star turn as visitors fillet Spurs. Or should it be filet?
The Daily Telegraph leads with Dutch Masters. Ajax take control of Champions League semi-final as Vertonghen is taken off in concussion scare. And Red Alert, we will fight to ruin Messi's dream, says Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, a really bad concussion suffered by Jan Vertonghen. There's him spitting blood on the pitch. That was before he came back on. Klopp, we must be ready to suffer in toughest test. And friend in Connacht expecting backlash from filthy Ulster. I think he means it in a good sense though, right? It's like
he doesn't actually call them filthy, he says they should be filthy.
Things get lost in translation a bit. Filthy, it's like the Antipodeans mean something else, right? It's like you using words that we don't really understand because you're a different generation.
Well, exactly.
Or misusing words.
In an accent we don't really understand either.
He's got a bit of backup here on my python.
I realised what I was saying. As soon as I said
after foxy fellas next to me for the last 15 years.
Take that back.
Guardian this morning goes with total football. Spellbinding Ajax edge out battling Spurs in first leg. And Wimbledon mission, Murray given 7 weeks to seek his wild card for the tournament. United front then, England players back hails as World Cup acts. And Jurgen Klopp is well pictured on the back page. We are prepared to suffer. He says Liverpool are ready for pain in Barcelona, but warns we will have chances.
The Irish Daily Mail says that Conor Murray is feeling the heat for the first time in nearly a decade as Ireland's top number 9. So I'm not really sure it's true. If he's fit, he's playing, and we all know that. Lionel Tamer's Klopp sends his men out to ruin Messi's dream, and Spurs have it all to do. And then Willie's joy is Undersow defends crown. So Undersow beat Min yesterday. Min 13-8 on. Undersow was 11-4 to
beat him well, yeah.
Yeah. So not a great season for Ruby. Plenty to come today in the Gold Cup as well. Sun to rise for Spurs. There's a lot of hope that Heung-min Son is somehow going to change things around single-handedly for Spurs in the next leg. Certainly that didn't seem to be the case. And then inside, O'Carroll will lift team. We'll get to that in a minute because apparently you had a central role in the birth of Rory O'Carroll. I don't even know if you knew that. Sickener is the back page of the Mirror. As that falls out, yeah. Spurs reeling after Jan Horror and Beek Belter is the back of the Mirror.
The Racing Post on the front page goes with matches don't get bigger than this, and there's 2 of them. It's Album Photo versus Ken Boy. Mullins' most exciting young chase stars go head-to-head on day 2 of Punchestown, and of course, Barcelona against Liverpool, and that is dominating proceedings on the back page. The ultimate test is the big headline. Liverpool look up for the challenge.
And the back page of the Times Ireland edition is Spurs on the ropes and we will suffer in Nou Camp Warns Club. So there you go. It's like obviously Jurgen Klopp said one interesting thing in his press conference and everybody has jumped on it.
The back page of the Sun then finally is Sickener. Spurs face UEFA probe over Jan head injury. Now Poch boys have a mountain to climb. And there's actually some interesting stuff on the inside of the Sun about Vertonghen and the concussion, that ultimately the UEFA rules and the FA rules on this are actually different. That the UEFA's rules on concussion state that in the event of a suspected concussion, the referee stops the game to allow the injured player to be assessed by the team doctor. But then in the FA rules and the Premier League rules, clubs have to use an independent doctor in the tunnel who can use TV replays to identify possible concussions. So potentially in the wake of what happened last night, you could have a move to an independent doctor. That being said, I'm sure that the doctor last night acted in the best faith possible, and it just looked bad from our point of view on the couch. But like, it's just interesting looking into some of these. Under FA regulations, the failure to answer any of these questions correctly may suggest a concussion. What venue are we at today? Which half is it now? Who scored last in this game? What team did you play last? Did your team win the last game? I wasn't actually sure what the questions were, but they're just a sample of the ones you get in the Premier League.
That's a pretty old school approach to concussion as opposed to knowing things. Were you ever concussed on the field?
No, don't think so.
Really?
No, I don't remember. You have those moments where you get hit, you hit the ground, and what happened there. But I wouldn't say technically concussed. I don't remember being out of it. You know, have those moments where you get hit, whatever reason, and you.
Did you see stars?
No, never had it that bad. Don't remember physically that nauseous kind of, you know, as bad as that. You know, that physically, you know, your really kind of knocks you sideways. No, I don't remember being that bad. You know, you get, you know, knocked around and things like that. But
when you were playing, though, the done thing was you get knocked out, you shake it off, and you play on, and then you joke about it afterwards. And
I mean, unless you're literally out for quite some time, it had to be stretched. I mean, if you were up reasonably quickly, at best taken to the sideline, the physio. Don't even remember too many doctors.
But there was no knowledge. There was no knowledge of it.
Of course.
Like, there was no like concussion. You'd be like, "What's concussion? I just got knocked out. I'm fine. I'm up again." There was no level of danger. Like the gum shields now with the chips in them. They're bringing out these gum shields that have chips, and if you get a bang and it reads your teeth clenching or your head shaking violently, like that'd want to be brought into all sport rapid, because, you know, like, them questions are all grand, but, you know, concussion is too dangerous, and bleeds to the brain are too dangerous. You hear these fellas getting a punch in the night out and falling over, and they have a bleed to the brain and they die. Like, that can happen to you on a football pitch. I had a cousin who got a knee playing rugby in a warm-up for a game and nearly died from it, like, you know, and it's just, you know, the old adage of, he's alright, throw him back on, you know. Yeah,
well, the medical side is improved, like, dramatically, like I said. I think the independent doctor, like, is a good thing, pitch side, to make it give an independent assessment. Obviously, look at the footage as well in a reasonably short period of time. But then obviously you have the problem potentially, people talking about taking the player off for a period of time, 5 minutes to be assessed. Now, 5 minutes alone, you can have a situation where you're without a player on the football pitch really for 5 minutes.
So temporary subs could fix that.
Exactly. So now you're going down the road with how to resolve that situation. Potentially, like you said, it would be a temporary substitution to come on and go off the football pitch would be a way around that. So yeah, I think there is answers. It's not a case of how do we get around. And the solutions are there.
And it's okay at this, and it's okay at the level we're talking about. But you're also talking about your Sunday league. Your fellas playing 5-a-side. Your fellas playing Division 4 County League, blowing Kerry. Like, you know, there mightn't be a doctor there mightn't even be a physio there, and that bang, it's the actual managers have to look at, he got a bad bang, do I want to take a risk with this fella that something's going to happen to him afterwards? And the answer should always be no, like. But
it didn't, I don't know what Pochettino was saying, but Pochettino, when they were trying to get him back on, Pochettino wasn't saying, no, you can't go back on. That certainly didn't seem to be the case. He wasn't holding him back.
No, we don't,
Well, that's an obvious thing, but you got to trust your medical staff there to make the correct call. And it's a funny one, the blood one, like the blood looks up, but sometimes when you cut yourself and there's blood, it's almost like, it's only a cut.
Yeah.
There's always that mentality is, it's not, I was just cutting myself, like, you know what I mean?
That's what it looked like,
Yeah, so I'd cut them a little bit of slack, because it didn't look to me as if he was out for any period of time on the ground. It was a bad knock, all right, you know what I mean? But yeah, clearly it's potentially such a serious issue, as Kieran suggested there. But I think the solution is there. I think it just needs a little bit of tweaking just to get the process right in terms of how you deal with it.
In December 2008, Paddy Carr, who was in charge of Kilmacud Crokes, rang Jack O'Connor and asked for a challenge match. Do you remember this?
What, do I remember this?
Yeah, 2008.
No, I don't remember championship games. Never mind the challenge game.
Kerry against Kilmacud Crokes, and you were marking Rory O'Carroll at half time or full time. You come up to Paddy Carr and goes, I remember Donaghy coming up to me after the game saying to me, "Who's that young fella?" And apparently the only way that Crokes wanted the game so that he could mark you. You don't remember any of this? Didn't happen.
Just smart the dubs, weren't they? A whole challenge game just to see if some fella was. I don't remember. Kerry versus Kilmacud Crokes.
They were. It was in between an All Ireland Leinster title and an All Ireland semi-final. They were playing Corfin, and so Rory O'Carroll came on for his first ever game at half time in the Leinster final, against Road, and they were getting ridden, and he marked Niall McNamee out of the game in the second half. And they reached the All-Ireland final. They reached the All-Ireland semi-final against Corfin, and in between they played a game against Kerry, for a challenge game against Kerry, and apparently the deal was that on the stipulation that Kieran Donaghy would play full forward, so you ended up marking Roy O'Carroll, and you created Roy O'Carroll. If you'd crushed him that day the way you should, if you just dialed in for that one challenge game, all the hassle.
That challenge game in November against Liverpool Crowds was after. It wasn't too fucking high in the agenda list, I can tell you. Jesus, although if I could have my time back and I knew what was coming, I might have been. But I'd say my shape now in November, December of 2008, 2007, 2008 mightn't have been great.
If you could go back and just put in a good performance.
So apparently, turn back time.
Apparently his 4th ever game of football as a senior was for the Dubs. So he went and played those 3 games, and Pat Gilroy was like, "Yeah, you'll do. I need a full back. Thanks very much." So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's the quality of him, and that's how easy it's going to be for him to come back at this stage.
Yep. Just settle in as comfortable as he could be.
So Oisín Langan has been in touch to say that Paul Flynn limped off for Fingalians last week, having worked his balls off, he says, throughout the game. So maybe that is the injury that has
broke the camels,
tipped him over at this stage, because obviously he'd been out for so long, come back. He played. I didn't see the Roscommon game last year because obviously it was a dead rubber, but apparently he played really well in that game.
Yeah, and it's probably it's probably where he's standing in the team is right now. He probably knows he needs to be 100% fit at every training session to make this Championship 26 for match day, and then it's up to him to get into that role where he's the guy that's been coming on to change the game. And I suppose if you're after picking up a bad injury now and you know you're out for two or 3 months again at this stage, you're kind of going, I'm going to come back in 2 or 3 months. Everybody else will be after 3 months of hard championship training, and I'm going to be in the same position I was last year, where I'm this kind of guy that I mightn't make the 26. And for a player of his ilk, that's hard to take. For a guy that when you're just used to being the man so long for definitely. Dublin, now you can't make the 26. So because of injury, obviously, but that's probably why he's pulled the plug, which is unfortunate.
Kieran, the rehab process, people underestimate how mentally draining that can be. I never had a particularly long-term injury, but I've seen a couple of players over the years go through it over the period of 12, 18, almost 2 years, crucial knee ligament injuries at the early stage, where it was a real struggle to get yourself back, setbacks, and go through it again. And you're talking to these people, and you're saying, well, head up, go again, start the rehab, go down a different road, keep at it. And eventually, remember, one lad turned around and said, I can't do it. Yeah. You can only go through this, so the days in the gym, the hours in the gym.
It's mental anguish, like.
Yeah, in that hope that I can get myself, and then to have it snatched, you got to go down a different road, more rehab. You can literally, mentally, you can only take so much of it. There comes the time, although everybody's telling you, no, you're too young, you got to keep going, you got to do this. Yeah, easy for you to say, but me, I've got to put myself through it mentally just as much as physically, and you just come to the end of the road, you just can't do it.
I wonder, is that tougher as a professional as well, because that is the sole thing that you're focused on, this is your livelihood, whereas say if you're a GAA player, at least you have other distractions in your life, you're not wholly consumed by getting back from that cruciate injury or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it does consume you, but it's tough. We've all come back through injuries, and you get when you have the injury, boom, you take it on board, and you come to the decision, right, here we go, 3 months, 6 months, get on
all
it.
You want is the time. Yeah. How long am I out for? Okay, and then try and beat that target. That's what I would have always tried to do. Like if they told you it was 12 weeks, I'd be like, go on, right, 10 weeks, I'm going to be right.
Right.
And it'll just give you that, you're just trying to beat the clock. It was always my way of making sure, as you said, that you were doing that. All that kind of hard,
and you have to separate yourself, Kieran, from the group to a certain extent. You put some distance between yourself, and that's it. It's about me, and you just kind of get on with it. But it's a tough process to continue to be repeating. That's not easy.
Yeah, one other thing that's happening this morning, Cork's 96 FM are apparently reporting that John Caulfield will no longer continue as the Cork City manager. Apparently at the press conference yesterday, he was saying that he was concerned about the resources that were being made available to the club, and it looks like that is the end to his time there. Because they put it up to Dundalk when Stephen Kenny was there.
Oh, he's had a great. I hope it doesn't end on a sad note for John down there. I'm sure it won't. I'm sure supporters will appreciate the kind of job he's done at the football club. When he came in, he's absolutely transformed the club, and the league's success a couple of years ago was absolutely phenomenal, bearing in mind how strong Dundalk were at the time, and it's not too long ago since Cork, reading stories around the club, turmoil, Cork City, you know what I mean, attendances, the crowd, in a bad way, the club. So he's totally turned the football club. A lot of pride in how the club's been playing, the success they've had. So, and these things naturally come to a conclusion at some time. So, yeah, I'm sure John will be disappointed, but he can be very proud of the job that he's done there. I'm sure it'll be appreciated by the people around the city and the county.
We've contacted Cork and John Coffey for comment this morning. As soon as we get one, we'll bring it to you.
Like, he's quoted in a couple of the papers this morning saying that how he had confidence in himself to actually turn things around, but obviously it's been a disastrous start to the season for Cork City, so we'll hopefully clarify that soon. I might just grab an Irish Examiner and perhaps an Irish Independent off you as well, because there's a couple of the stories we just wanted to touch on before we wanted to get to the shot clock. And one of the things that people are talking about, and it always gets
Game of Thrones.
Well, it's Game of Thrones. Not too far off, actually. I do want to talk television, because RTE and Sky released their television schedule yesterday in terms of what we'll see in the Championship, and really, again, it's no surprise that we're going to see a huge lack of football on TV until we get to the business end of the summer. So only 3 football matches in the provincial championships outside of the finals are going to be shown. I'm just going to pick up on Kieran Shannon's column here, who asks the very simple question about the best team in any given sport. How often would you generally see them on television? How many times will ESPN show the Golden State Warriors over the course of the season? More than anybody else. So the next time you'll see Jim Gavin's squad live on your TV screen will be June 23rd. It's hard to think of another sport or organisation on the planet that would allow its most outstanding and marketable team go over 3 months in season without at least one of its games being shown live on some network. And 14 weeks since they last featured on a live broadcast will be the gap between 2 Dublin games. And it is incredible, considering how good the product may be from a team perspective, that this is allowed to happen. But ultimately, the product is so poor from a competition perspective, and this is why this has happened. And Shannon goes on to talk about the potential of the 2-tier championship next year, because ultimately, really, is it a television discussion that might actually spark change? Because rights are expensive, and the better your product is, the more expensive those rights get, the more money you have in your coffers at the end. Could this be the sort of thing that actually pushes the GAA into thinking, well, we can make a lot more money here if the Dubs are on TV a little bit more, if we have a better football product to go with the amazing hurling product that we'll see on RTE and Sky Sports over the next couple of weeks? Because let's face it, if I'm running RTE or Sky, I would make the exact same decision here. You can't blame the television companies for the lack of football over the next couple of weeks. All you can blame really is the way the competition is set up.
Yeah, 100%. It's just I don't know how long we can all talk about it, but certainly it's something that has to be looked at. I think we have to get. I think you can make a case for making those provincial championships kind of run off almost how we run off the club championship in Kerry.
Yeah,
it's a month. You get in there, we crown all our Ulster, Connacht, Leinster and Munster champions. There you go, lads. There's the trophy, because in essence that's all it is now. It's a part of history, which is why I get people don't want to get rid of it. So you just do it earlier on in the year. You get that should kind of determine your seeding for your first, we'll say your first 2-tier championship, and then you just got to go with it. You got to have teams coming up, and you got to have teams going down, and you got to get more of the top teams playing against each other in kind of with better crowds. If we did Dublin and Kerry in Killarney with 45,000, it'd be an unbelievable marquee game. Kerry going up to Tyrone, Galway, Mayo. You could have all these teams. The reason the league is so good is because every division has teams of similar abilities playing against each other. That's what makes it great television. That's why every time we come in here talking about National League product, is you're talking about, there was a great game in Division 3, there was a great game in Division 4, there was a great, they're brilliant because the teams are evenly matched. And what we have, and unfortunately what the TV companies have at this stage of the game, is they're going up playing top level teams against teams that are in Division 3 or Division 4 of the National League, and it's
we know what's going to happen.
It's hard to get people to sit down and watch that, whereas you're right, maybe it is the TV, maybe it is Sky Sports and RT to kind of go, okay lads, right, if we're going paying for this, we got to make sure that we're getting, if they had the league, Air and RT must be laughing with the league, because the games in Tina G are brilliant on a Sunday, and you sit down and watch all these games because you know it's going to be close, you know it's going to be a game, whether it's hurling or football. And the Sunday during winter, you're sitting down watching National League, be it hurling or football, but during the championship,
it leaves you wanting more.
You're on about not showing until provincial finals. Munster's a washout. has been for the last 6 or 7 years since that great Cork team went away. Leinster has been a washout since this Dublin team have come along. You know, Ulster, there's a load made of it, but actually I think it's a lot of teams that are of kind of a level enough standing going head to head with each other, and there's big pride at stake up there, and you get kind of good games out of it up there. And Connacht, like you had Sligo around there and around the turn of the decade as well. You had Sligo around, but really since then it's Roscommon, and at least you've 3 teams in Connacht, and you know it's the only one where you can have a little bit of a rabbit in the hat. It's the only championship you can have it. The rest of them you can pretty much kind of pick your team to win it at the start of the year. You definitely pick your 2 finalists, but something has to be done, because what we're missing out on is unbelievable games that we could be getting at this time of year when the ground is dry and the sun is out and people can take their families to games. Don't have to be worried about freezing your arse off above in the stand with scarves, hats and headbands and 10 jackets on to keep yourself warm.
Yeah, it's frustrating as well seeing how good the hurling is inevitably going to be over the next couple of weeks, but that's going to be a story that's going to be spoken about for the next couple of months. The other thing that it kind of started in the newspapers yesterday is the sort of mind games around the Dubs 5 in a row coming from Peter Keane yesterday. Mind games is probably a bit strong, but we've got Liam Kearns in the newspaper this morning talking again about 1982. He says, I would say I was around when Kerry lost the 5 in a row. I got onto the panel myself as a sub after that for the 3 in a row. I was carried by the greats there for a couple of years. I was one of those extras, but like I would have never seen Kerry beaten with that 5 in a row team, and I certainly didn't think Offaly would beat them. I came out of that game in shock. So the weight of history, in my opinion, beat them. The further this thing goes on and the more talk there is about it in Dublin, the weight of history is going to weigh heavily on them. Can we classify this as mind games?
Clutching.
Can we classify it like
Class is clutching.
We could literally get a different person in the newspaper every single day between now and the 1st of September, and you could have some sort of reference to 1982 or to the weight of history. Like,
but does anybody really think this kind of Dublin team, this with the management that they have, like on top, is going to be any way effective? Like, it's going to be fractured somewhat by
history matters.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I do.
This Dublin team, how mentally? I'm not talking about the individual qualities of the players, just mentally, the whole collective there, how strong they are. Nothing gets in. Nothing seems to get in there.
I'm sure they'll be pretty strong in it. I'm sure they'll be pretty strong in it. But it's just that 10 minutes to go. You know, it's like you're up 1-0 and the ball's coming in and everybody gets a bit tight. That's what you're looking for. The pretenders to the throne to actually go to Dublin and be in the position where it is a 2-point game with 5 or 6 minutes to go, and they are coming, and every neutral in the crowd is getting behind them, which was like 82.
Kerry? Is it going to be Kerry? Are they the county? Is there any county can do it?
You're way too soon.
Push Dublin to that point that Kieran's talking about in a final, 15 minutes to go,
I think
still in the game, and put that type of pressure on them, where potentially you'll see that little bit of a mini meltdown. I mean,
yeah, they have to show a bit more. You know, they have to show a bit more during the summer to be considered that in my eyes, because last year we didn't even make a semi-final, Kerry, with relatively the same team. So
he's Kerry or Ajax. Don't be fooled. Kerry or Ajax, and they're coming for everybody. Look at them; they can't contain her. It's like, yeah.
I've been waiting for this, like a bit of backup for ages.
Right, that's your sports pages this morning.